my name is Annie Pettit. You may know me as LoveStats on Twitter or on WordPress. I am the Chief Research Officer for Conversition Strategies. We are a social media research company specializing in applying scientific principles to the collection and analysis of social media data. What I'd really like them to know is not specifically the presentation. The presentation is all about the growth of social media and how we actually have sufficient data to do something with it. Not just monitoring, not just CRM. Anybody can do that stuff. Anyone can go online and count and read and find it interesting and maybe even invade a little bit of privacy and ask people why they do or don't like a product. Social media research is the next step. It's along the lines of doing survey research, but based on social media data. So you don't need to run a survey with all the traditional, did you like the show? Why did you like the show? Who did you like in the show? What aspects of the show did you like? You don't need to run surveys like that. It's all online right now. I go online and tell people why I love American Idol, why I love Monk, a really cool detective show. You ought to watch it. But I don't need to answer a survey about that. It's all online. And you can measure that data accurately. You can generalize it back to a general internet population, and you can gather meaningful and actionable results. That's what I'd like people to learn. I look at social media data as basically, 6, 8, 10-hour survey. On a survey, you're kind of held back to a set 10-minute survey, I hope. Some people push it to 20, 30, 40, 50-minute surveys, and you try to cram in as much as you possibly can. Hopefully you can focus it on the very specific questions you need. With social media data, it's totally different. People will tell you exactly what they want to know about all the topics that are important to them. So they've basically self-selected themselves for importance, relevance, all the things that we're trying to find on a survey. You add to that some content analysis. People decide what they want to talk about, and we measure what they want to talk about. Is it actually purchasing CDs or DVDs that come out from the show? Are they talking about purchasing t-shirts with the characters on them? Are they loving the commercials between the shows? What are all the aspects that they are talking about? With content analysis, you can actually split it up into all those different categories. Thousands of categories, really. You can call them survey questions, you can call them constructs. We call them constructs because it is social media research. Then on top of that, you apply sampling and weighting. This seems to be a totally foreign concept to people. They do it all the time with survey research, and for some reason, when you start talking social media data, out the window. They forget all about sampling and weighting. The whole reason for me that it's important is just one simple example. How many people are on Twitter? Let's say about 7-10% of people are on Twitter. What volume of data do people from Twitter provide? Depending on your vendor, 30, 40, 50, 60% of your data could just be from Twitter. So do those 7% of people, are they really that important that you should listen to them, include them in your data as 60% of the sample? I just don't think so. Twitter people are different from Blogger people, are different from YouTube commenters, Flickr commenters. It's all different. So you need to make sure that the way you pull your data in reflects the internet base, if that's where you're going to generalize to. Which means if Twitter is 7% of the population of the users, Twitter should be 7% of how you're measuring your data. For me, that's the most important thing about the whole social media process. So applying that to television viewing, it's the exact same thing. You need to make sure you do it properly. There's probably 100 really big websites, and we've categorized all of those websites into their specific spot. So there's blogs, microblogs, video, photo, Q&A forums, all that sort of thing. So all those big websites, which I don't know off the top of my head, are something like 70% of all data that we gather in our case. That's all slotted into very specific categories. Beyond that, there's the 20-30%, and again, that depends on what exactly you're measuring. Some brands, shows may have a totally different mix than other shows, so you need to account for that. But that is the other box, just like same thing you would see on a survey. There's always that other box. And I wish we had hundreds of people who could go visit every single one of those thousands of sites, read them for me, and categorize them into the right slot, but I don't think it's going to happen. So what we do is at least make sure it's fair, it's even, it's balanced from one measurement time to another measurement time. Timeliness is a huge topic in this area because social media is instantaneous. And if you want some bad data, then I highly recommend going with speed. But if you want quality research, like any other kind of research, you need to do it right, and that takes time. So the initial setup of a project, huge work associated with data quality. I have a few examples that I love giving. Most recently, the BP oil spill. So let's say we just gather a whole bunch of BP data and quick we off and measure, and for some strange reason, we don't get negative scores. We get nicely stable positive scores. So that just doesn't make sense. But if you go into some nice abbreviation websites, BP stands for Brad Pitt and blood pressure and basis points and so many other things. It takes time to get quality data, and you need to do it right from the beginning. That moves on into the content analysis. More favorite examples. You could measure, this may not be completely relevant, but you could measure color. Brown, great color. Charlie Brown is not a color. Blu-ray is not a color. So if you're not putting the time into creating quality constructs, you're going to get garbage. So I would say the time to start up a project, if you want to do it right with quality data, it does take some time. So you could be looking at the most complicated project. Maybe it does take a full week to get everything sorted well. Good data, good search terms, good constructs. After that point, you are smooth sailing. You're always looking for those little glitches, strange things coming up in the data, and that's fine. That'll take you a little bit of time, an hour a day, something small. But once you're off and running, then you've got some speed.
Yeah.
You get the best of both worlds. So every research project, let's open it up to the full range of research. Everybody's interested, purchasing, recommendations, trial, new and different. Everyone wants to know that. Those are predefined, sitting in the dictionary right now, ready to go. Product placement, pricing, promotion, sitting, waiting to go. Everybody can use it. There's a list of emotions, list of personality characteristics. There's a whole set of variables, constructs that apply to everyone, ready to go. Beyond that, though, every vertical has its own specific measures. So someone like Walmart would be interested in retailer measures, the crowding, the parking lots, the washrooms, the cashiers, all that sort of thing. They have their set of measures. Those are predefined. And a new retailer might come along and say, well, actually, we'd like these 2 or 3 added. Sure, no problem. We can add anything, customize at any time. On top of that, there's always the surprise constructs, the stuff you can't even think of. I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but I was just reading online, someone using their iPad in the washroom. Are they going to say that on a survey? Maybe not. They're going to say it online. And there are systems in place that can catch this odd kind of behavior if it's happening numerous times. So you've got the predetermined, already to use constructs, you've got the client suggested constructs, and then you've got these completely out of nowhere constructs that just come up through the data, and then we turn that into a usable construct for our clients. I get this question a lot, and I always like to throw it back at the person and say, well, why would you do survey research? What's the difference? The only difference is the source of the data. And then you bring it back, you turn it into a survey data set, you run your survey analysis and produce the same results that you might get with survey research. So from that point of view, you're basically doing the same kind of thing. There's nothing outrageously different. There are, of course, unique benefits and unique drawbacks, like any sort of research. So in this case, maybe you can't measure brand awareness. If people don't want to talk about your brand, they're not going to talk about your brand, even if you're the biggest company in the world. If they don't want to, they won't. On the other hand, you can measure things that people might not say in a survey, like the iPad example. You can hear the words that people are using in real life, not the words that they've screened out and deemed, this isn't quite right to write out in a survey. You can get, it's the 10-hour survey, not the 20-minute survey. So all the things you wish you could have answered in that shorter survey, it's now there. It's sitting, waiting, ready to be used if that's how you want to use it. If your company wants to go with a marketing strategy that takes advantage of different social media websites, you can find out what is different about each of the websites. What are some psychographic characteristics of users from different websites, and then apply campaigns that would suit that specific website appropriately. So Annie, what are the types of social media companies out there? I would love to answer that question for you. There's basically two types. There's social media monitoring. Tons of those companies. You can go on a Twitter and say something about a brand, and chances are at least a few of them will get back to you and say, hey, how you doing? What's up? Why didn't you like this? What are you talking about? So there's the people who are checking up, counting, watching, reading, seeing who's saying what about something. And then the people who are doing CRM, trying to help their consumers who are specifically talking to them online. Tons of those companies. The other set of companies, social media research company, where we might have had 200, 300, 400 companies, I couldn't tell you how many companies are over there. You switch into the social media research point of view, 5. I will admit I'm kind of making up that number. I don't know how many there are out there, but in terms of sampling, weighting, norms, standardized scores, box scores, average scores, I have not seen it. Conversition does it. I'm sure there's a few other companies approaching the research point of view. I just haven't heard too much about them at this point. We are not measurers of individual people. We are measurers of a space, an entire internet space that is thousands, millions of people. If you have a point that is relevant to thousands of people and they decide to retweet or buzz or share or like, I will hear about it. If you have no influence, I'm not going to hear about it. There will be no volume in the data, no buzz. So if you are influential, I'm going to find out from other people. I don't necessarily need to hear it from you so that I can multiply or weight you individually. I want to weight the internet. This is research, not checking up on Joe or Sam who may have said something. This is an issue that researchers will completely argue on forever and ever. There's the camp of it's online. You already agreed that this was shareable. You checked the box on Facebook or wherever. Yes, I can release this information. Twitter is open. It's sitting on the internet. I can use it. Then there's the other point of view, and I'll be sitting in this box, which is, okay, sure, you agreed that it could be shared, but you didn't really sign up for other companies to kind of sit at your door and just reach in and grab anytime they want. It's a little, I heard an analogy from someone, when you're in the park talking with your friends, people walk by, they hear stuff, but they're not going to sit down and have a conversation with you. They're not going to go tell their friends, well, I heard the discussion in the park, and so said this, and so said this, and I'm going to report this to the company, and the company's going to get back to them. There's some implied sense of personal space on the internet. And for an external company who has no direct contact with this person, to get in touch with this person, to me just seems like they're pushing the line. If people want to go online and specifically say, "Dear Meryl Shoes, I love Meryl Shoes. Can you tell me about this?" Then absolutely, for sure. I see that as an open invitation for Meryl to get in touch with them. But otherwise, I'd say hands off. Let's just listen, appreciate what they're saying, and hopefully the respect, the trust that we gain from not invading their personal space will end up with them being okay with us continuing to do research.
So from your perspective, it's more of an ethical and moral stance than it
Yep.
is a strictly legal stance about this sort of concept called harm.
I'm big on spirit of the law, not letter of the law. The law is there for people who aren't interested in being respectful in the first place. If you need to follow the law, and that's your reason for following the law, then I'm not so keen on that. You should respect the law because it's the right thing, and then go the next step, which is it's the right thing for you too. Respect other people because it's the right thing.
You're a do unto others type of person.
Okay.